I had 2 rounds left on this field last night and the corners, so it was getting dark. And on my last round, as I was coming back, I seen something in the straw. I think, oh, that's not good. So this is what you want to see, not. So it looks like it snapped off right at the bearing there. I've had these guys off plenty of times. It's not fun. There's only 2 bolts, but you got to jack the back of the drills up and roll the things out. It's kind of a precarious process, but I think this one here, yeah, this one here has the drive chain on it. There's a chain, these roll, and the chain drives the feeders for the grain. So that's the one this one has. So we'll take this up and find out what we have up at the shop. So the job of this critter here is to kick the rocks out that the packer wheels pick up. These clips are all twisted, so there's just 4 bolts to take this off. I'll take it up to the house and straighten it out in the press, I guess. Came off not too bad. A little less in the way. So these packers kind of rock back and forth on, there's a bolt here and one up front, so they can kind of go back and forth a little bit as they roll along. So when I pick it up with the jack, I should be able to turn it, and there'll be a connector link on the chain in there. I'll have to find that and then disconnect it. And not sure, there's a couple of bolts there, 7/16 bolts. They kind of hold a guard on there to protect the chain. So I'll get those loosened off. And yeah, I think that's where we're at right now. I need to turn it so that I can find the connector link, because this is where the connector link has to come off. Normally they're balanced. You can see the bolt there. They're balanced on that bolt, so they just sit there and they turn pretty easy, but because one whole side is gone, it's not turning. So I just ran some number 9 wire up through the holes in the top there just to lift that off the ground an inch, just so that it can kind of spin on that wire and on the other bearing here, so I can turn it. So I'll just stick a wrench on this and turn it until the connector link. Until the connector link makes its appearance. You can see there's our connector link there. I'll just get some wire. So it's been a while since I did this, but I remember it was a lot easier having wire on something to pull everything back through. So we'll put the wire on it now, and then I'll pull the connector link off. So that's the bolt there, the front bolt that has to come out. There's a lock nut on the back. There's 2 jacks taking the weight at the back, and there's also still a bolt in the back. So when that comes off, it's not going to go anywhere because it's still bolted up. I'll take the bolt at the back off last, because this is kind of a mousetrap down here. That's the bolt there. We got the nut off it, and you'll see that ring around it. That's a hardened spacer. The holes are oversized, and then there's a ring of hardened steel that goes in there to keep it from wearing on the bolt so much. See the hole's a little bit worn. We got to knock that bolt out. I'll try and do it from the back here. I just reached through there with a crowbar and tapped it a couple times till it came out, and it's on the ground back there. So now this is the last bolt here when it comes out. So this whole thing can't come down any further than the packer wheels at this point. So there's our bolt, and there's our hole it came out of. You can see it's a little bit rounded there. The packer gang is just loose. It's should be ready to come out. I'm just going to take the shovel and level the ground here so that it rolls out nice and easy. And then I'll lift up the back and roll it out the back. Rolled out pretty easy. You can see the chain there, pulled out through the guard. I've got wire on both ends of that chain, so once I get it all the way out here, I can pull it back through at that stage. I'll just get the chain unhooked from here and go for the tractor and haul this thing up to the shop. You see the wires here. I'll just take the wire off of one of them so I can get it off from around in there. Well, obviously the best option would be to phone John Deere and to just get a new one and stick it on there. But last time I did that, they told me the part was obsolete and it had to come from, they went someplace special. It come from down in the States and took a month to get here. So that's not an option. I was hoping that I could take this old one that I had here. There's two different sizes. I was going to build this one up and use it, but unfortunately I think this is the shorter size and the broken one's the longer size, so that's not an option. I got two things working against me to weld it up. Number one is it's not mild steel. It's something else. Probably doesn't have enough carbon in it to make a knife, but probably make a pretty decent hammer. If I just weld it without doing a little bit of heat treating to it, there's a pretty good chance it'll just snap. But I can do that. I can heat it up and do a preheat and a post heat and weld it, and we'll be okay that way. But what scares me is when you're working with metal, if it's fatigued. A fatigue is like when you take a wire and you bend it back and forth until it gets hot and then finally it breaks. Well, when it breaks, that's caused by fatigue. And when steel is stressed enough times, that's what'll happen, is it reaches that point where it just breaks. And my understanding and experience is that's irreversible. So if something's fatigued and it breaks, welding it up it's just going to break beside it eventually, usually pretty shortly after you've tried to fix it. So if it's fatigue, I'm hoping it's just localized where that bearing went through there. And I'll grind most of that out and re-weld it. I'll just use some mild steel rod and do a preheat and a post heat on it. Probably take it up to about a purple spring temperature both times, just to make sure that things aren't brittle and still got a bit of springy in them, and try and keep things straight. Anyways, that's what we're doing. Plan B, if that doesn't work, I'd never do this if it was anything where somebody get hurt. I mean, if it breaks, it's going to be a pain in the butt, but it isn't. Nobody's life is in danger. Nobody's going to get hurt, and it's not a big deal. If it breaks, I'll just be doing this again in a day or two. So plan B is I could get a mild steel rod that's 1 1/4 inch solid and weld a end on one end, and I'd have to weld something threaded on the other end because I'm not set up to do some threading, and unless I found somebody to do the machining, but I don't think that's going to be a thing. I'll probably find some threaded rod to weld on the end of it because Those are some skills that I have. It'd be mild steel, it wouldn't be whatever this is, but yeah, we don't do that many acres a year with it, so we'll see if we can get this thing fixed. So we're taking everything apart here. We're going to try and keep things in order as best we can. Sometimes these get worn into the shape of an hourglass on the inside of the packer wheel here, and they do not want to come off when that happens. But these have been on and off here a few times in recent years, so with any luck, things will come apart pretty quick. Just taking a picture of the crystalline structure here in the brake. I wish I'd paid better attention in welding class. Anyway, that's what it looks like. It's pretty coarse here and then really super fine here. We'll grind most of that out. After getting it out and having a better look at it, I see that it is the same length as the other one that I have. I thought that it was not the same one, but it apparently is. And judging by the condition of the one I pulled out of here, this is probably the new one that I ordered at some point, because it's in pretty good shape. So newer isn't necessarily better. So that shouldn't necessarily be fatigued, because we haven't really had these new ones in here that long. But she sure snapped off. I think my best bet is to build up the old one and do a little bit of heat treating on it and use it, because it's got sound, relatively sound metal all the way through the middle. That'll be our best bet, I think. Warm it up evenly. We're going to try and get this to a purple color. See the oxidation spectrum start. It goes from a kind of a yellow straw color to a purple. Hey, so we got her nice and preheated. All I've got here for building this up is some 7014, so that's what I'm going to use. Because it's square, I'm going to go back and forth on it, and I'm going to try and just do it evenly all the way around. I'll do one side and then the other side, because every time I make a pass, there's going to be some distortion. I'm going to try and keep it as straight as I can. Yeah, don't judge my welding here. So I got a pass on all 4 quadrants, and I'm just going to keep going around and filling it in with some welding rod here. See the oxidation spectrum starting there? You see that purple color? You want to give that a really nice purple soak all the way through the rounded area. No hotter than purple though, we don't want to get it red hot and we're going to start again. Well, we got her back together. It's kind of like a Rubik's Cube with all these pieces. I hope I got it together right, or I'll have to take it apart and put it back together the right way, however that is. Anyways, we're going to put it back in the tractor and haul it out there and see if it works. The idea of the wire was to help get this guard lined up, and we put the that packer back on and to pull the chain through so that we could get it fed back through and over the sprockets and get this connector link put back together.
Jack's down.
3:30, we're ready to go again. Started working on this at 7 this morning and took a half hour for lunch, so about 8 hours. So I guess I'm going to just reseed my last round so that I'm sure I didn't skip seeding somewhere. My seed boxes, both sides are both evenly full, so it wasn't not seeding for long. It might even been seeding when it quit, but it wasn't going to run for very long the way it was. Anyways, I got an hour left here. Finish up this field and do the corners out, and we'll see if it lasts that long.